Hey everyone, welcome to the Dark Confidants. I'm Corey, bringing you another Pauper Commander Deck Tech video. In this video I'm going to be covering Malcolm Kediss. This is a deck that I've played a couple times on the channel, as well as been featured playing on one of the Tryhards videos. I'll include a link to that video in the description below. Definitely recommend you check out that game. But yeah, without further ado, let's jump into it and take a look at the deck. Alright, so before we get into the deck itself, let's take a moment to look at the commanders that we're using. First we have Malcolm Keen-Eyed Navigator, which is a 2/2 Siren Pirate for 2 and a blue, as flying, and whenever one or more pirates you control deal damage to your opponents, you create a treasure token for each opponent dealt damage this way. He also has Partner, which is obviously why we can use 2 commanders in this situation. Next we have Kediss Emberclaw Familiar, which is a 1/1 Elemental Lizard for 1 and a red. It says whenever a commander you control deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. So right away you can see that this commander-partner pairing works very well together. Malcolm by himself, he has evasion, so it's pretty easy to get in on one of your opponents. He's going to connect, create a treasure. By itself, that's pretty good. With Kediss on the field, however, Malcolm's going to connect to one opponent, make his treasure. That's going to trigger Kediss to have Malcolm deal 2 damage to each other opponent, assuming you're in a 4-player pod, and you're going to get 2 more treasure. So 1 attack turns into 3 treasure, generating pretty good value that's going to allow you to pull very far ahead of the rest of your opponents. Now, before we move into the combos, I'd like to touch on 2 other cards that are run in the deck to really make use of Malcolm and Kediss. That would be Tandem Lookout and Ophidian Eye. So right off the bat, you can see these are going to work really well with this combination. If you get Ophidian Eye on Malcolm, by himself he's going to be making you a treasure and drawing you a card. With Kediss on the field, however, that's going to be 3 cards drawn and 3 treasures made. Now, this is pretty tough to assemble because Malcolm Kediss is a pretty popular combination in Pauper, and your opponents are going to always be on the lookout for you trying to get a little farther ahead. You're going to really have to fight through removal and counter spells and everything, but the deck does run a lot of counter magic to let you get stuff like this through. If you're able to get it to stick, however, with 3 cards drawn and 3 treasures made for each combat, you're going to pull way far ahead of the rest of the table and be pretty tough to stop. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's take a look at the combo lines that we're running inside the deck. Alright, so here we have all the cards involved in the combos. Now, it may look like a lot, but don't worry, I'm going to walk you through each combo line and what cards you need to assemble it. So the first thing to point out is that Malcolm is the linchpin to the entire deck. He's involved in every combo line, so keeping Malcolm on the field and alive is crucial to have the deck function. Now the first combo is winning with just Malcolm by himself. And we can do that with Free from the Real and any of these 4 cards here. Free from the Real is an enchantment aura that has pay 1 blue, tap enchanted creature, or pay 1 blue to untap enchanted creature. The other 4 cards over here are all cards that grant the ability to tap the enchanted or equipped creature to deal 1 damage to target player. So the main combo here is to have Malcolm out and have him survive a turn, because he has to lose Summoning Sickness for this, because you do have to tap him to deal 1 damage. Anyway, as long as Malcolm's able to tap, you can get Free from the Real on him, and any of these 4 cards. Tap, deal 1 damage, Malcolm's going to trigger himself to make a treasure. You're going to sacrifice the treasure for blue, pay that into Free from the Real to untap Malcolm, and repeat the process. One thing to look out for here, however, is if you're winning through Quicksilver Dagger, it also has the additional text that you draw a card. It's not a May ability, so you do have to be careful with decking yourself out if you're going with that line. Next up, we run 3 other creatures that functions similarly to the combo with Malcolm. That's Battered Golem, Pilipala, and Horseshoe Crab. Now these all use these 4 cards here to tap deal a damage, but the main thing to note is that they don't require Free from the Real. So if you've lost that, or you just can't find it, but you find one of these other creatures earlier, you can start working through that combo instead. Now they do require Malcolm to be on the field, and you may notice that none of these creatures are actually pirates. So we have to find a way to turn them into pirates. That's why we run these 4 cards over here. Blades of Velisvel, Wings of Velisvel, Trickery Charm, and Rune Stalactite. Now these 4 cards are going to give the creature either all creature types or a specific creature type. So you can turn them into pirates with Malcolm on the field and one of these cards attached to them, you can go infinite. Now each creature kind of functions a little differently, so I'm going to walk through each line with each different creature here. I'm just going to work through top to bottom, so we'll start with Battered Golem. A Battered Golem untaps anytime an artifact enters the battlefield, so you probably already see how this is going to go infinite. You have Malcolm on the battlefield along with Battered Golem as a pirate with one of these cards over here. You either equip him with Viridian Longbow or enchant him with one of these 3 cards. You tap, deal a damage. That's going to trigger Malcolm to create a treasure. The treasure entering the battlefield is going to untap the Golem, and then you just go infinite from there. One interesting thing is that this actually avoids the issue that Quicksilver Dagger has of decking yourself out, because you're not having to use the treasures that are being created because they entering the battlefield or untapping the Golem. You're not having to spend the mana from them to untap. You can draw until you find one of the other 3 cards and just stick that on the Battered Golem. At that point, you can use the ability from either Hermetic Study, for example, or Psionic Gift to tap deal a damage rather than the ability from Quicksilver Dagger. Next up, we have Pilipala. And Pilipala is probably the clunkiest of the combos because you have to pay 2 mana into it and untap it. In doing so, you add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, but to start the combo, you have to be aware that you need at least 1 mana open to pay into it to start going infinite. It's the same setup as Battered Golem, Malcolm on the battlefield, turn Pilipala into a pirate, and get one of the ping abilities on Pilipala. You tap, deal a damage, Malcolm's going to create the treasure. You can then crack the treasure for 1 mana, but then you also have to have 1 mana of another color. So maybe a treasure that you've created on a past turn, or just a land open. Either way, you have to pay 2 into Pilipala, untap it, you then add a mana to your mana pool. At this point, you can go infinite. Because once you untap, you have 1 mana floating from Pilipala, you tap again, deal a damage, Malcolm's going to create the treasure, you sacrifice that, you've got 2 mana floating, you pay that into Pilipala, and then the process repeats itself. Last up, we have Horseshoe Crab, which basically just has half of Free from the Real on it. You can pay 1 blue into it to untap Horseshoe Crab, so this one's pretty straightforward. Again, Malcolm on the battlefield, turn it into a pirate, get one of the ping abilities onto it, tap, deal a damage, make a treasure, sacrifice the treasure for blue, pay into Horseshoe Crab to untap, repeat the process. Lastly, we do also have Reckless Fireweaver here, which functions a little differently. You still have to have Malcolm on the battlefield to win through this infinite combo, but you don't need any of the ping abilities. You do, however, have to turn it into a pirate. Reckless Fireweaver reads whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, Reckless Fireweaver deals 1 damage to each opponent. So as long as it's a pirate with Malcolm on the battlefield, you can either attack with Malcolm, make a treasure just through attacking with him. That's going to trigger Reckless Fireweaver to deal 1 damage to each opponent. And if it's a pirate, that's going to get 3 triggers for Malcolm to make 3 treasures. Each one of those treasures is going to trigger again, so it kills the table very fast. Alternatively, we do run the artifact lands in the deck, so you could just play a land to trigger this as long as you have turned Reckless Fireweaver into a pirate. It's a pretty simple combo in the deck, and it's pretty easy to set up, but as you notice, all of these rely on Malcolm, so having him out is key. There's a lot of cantrips in the deck, so you just dig until you find one and then work from there. Now we've covered all the combo lines, though, let's look at the tutor package that we're running to get us there faster. Alright, so here we have the main tutors in the deck, along with their main targets that you're going to be hitting. So, apologies for how it looks. I sorted it out the best I could. I'm going to break it down. We'll start from the top row here and just kind of work our way down. Anyway, for the top row, we have things that hit 1 CMC spells, or at least 1 CMC spells that are involved with the combo. So first thing is we run Trinket Mage, which can grab us Viridian Longbow to give us the tap deal 1 damage ability, or Rune Stalactite if we need to give a creature all creature types. We also run Dizzy Spell for the Transmute ability. This can go grab either Viridian Longbow or Rune Stalactite as well, or Trickery Charm if we need another way to give a creature all creature types. And before we move on to the next row, I do want to just touch on Trinket Mage. This is a pretty versatile card in Pauper. You can use it to go grab one of the artifact lands, so it does help you with mana fixing a little bit. In this deck specifically, you can also use it to grab an artifact land to trigger Reckless Fireweaver if you're going through that win. You can also grab it to fetch up something like Relic of Progenitus. There's a lot of decks in the format that make use of their graveyard, so being able to tutor up a hate piece like this is very useful. So moving on to the next row we have here, this is kind of our 2 CMC transmute abilities with also our wizard cycling off to the side. So I'll go over the wizard cycling first because it's kind of the more narrow of the tutors. Now we have 2 cards, Vidalcan Aether Mage and Step Through. Now by themselves these cards aren't anything special. Step Through you might be able to use to bounce 2 creatures that are problematic back to their owner's hand, but typically you're going to be playing these cards for the wizard cycling ability. And what you're going to be grabbing is Blades of Velisfell or Wings of Velisfell. And these are the 2 cards that you can give a target creature all creature types until end of turn. So you go grab something, get into your hand early, or just get it the turn you're winning. Turn a creature into a pirate with Malcolm on the field, and you can win through that way. You can also use this to go grab a Trinket Mage, since that is a human wizard. That's just something to keep in mind, definitely worth knowing. Next up we have Merchant Scroll and Muddle the Mixture. Now Merchant Scroll you can go grab a blue instant, so you could go grab a Trickery Charm, Wings of Velisfell. Obviously you can also grab any counter spells that you need if you need a little bit more protection for your combo. It's a pretty useful card, definitely worth running. Now Muddle the Mixture, this is another transmute card. This allows us to grab anything with converted mana cost 2. Obviously we can grab Wings and Blades of Velisfell here. We can also go grab Pilipala with this, Reckless Fireweaver, Hermetic Study, or Sonic Gift. So Muddle the Mixture allows you to hit a lot of different pieces for the combo. So very useful card. All 3 of the transmute cards that we run are pretty useful and allow us to get key pieces to the combo. That having been said, we move on to the last one here with Drift of Phantasms. Again, another transmute card. This lets us grab anything with converted mana cost 3. So we can hit Battered Golem, Horseshoe Crab, Free from the Rill, or Quicksilver Dagger. So that pretty much sums up the tutor package. Being able to tutor for key pieces of a combo is pretty powerful in Pauper because, you know, there just isn't a lot of great tutors at common, but we run as much as we can here to hit our pieces that we need. So yeah, that pretty much sums up how the deck functions, the different combo lines, and what we need to get there. Alright, so that about wraps it up. Malcolm Kediss is a really fun deck. I definitely recommend checking it out. It was actually my introduction to the format. It was the first Pauper Commander deck ever played. And also, it's a pretty powerful deck. It's usually considered to be around tier 2 in the competitive Pauper metagame. So if you're looking for something a little bit more competitive, you can't go wrong with it. But yeah, let us know what you think of the deck in the comments below. Also, if there's any decks that we've featured in any of our gameplay videos that you'd like to see a deck tech for, just let us know. The Trelasara deck tech that we did received really good feedback, so if this is something that people are interested in, we're definitely interested in doing it. We do have more gameplay video coming on the way. There's been a little bit of delay with that just because of people's schedules and everything, especially with the holidays not too long ago, but they are coming. Other than that, you know, be sure, like, subscribe. Again, let us know in the comments what you think of it, and be sure to join us next time where we will find out who will achieve greatness at any cost.